This one is set at Cape Cod, and it's called The Shroud. My friend Jenny and I were thrilled when we found summer jobs out on Cape Cod. After a tough year at university, a summer vacation spent on the beach suited me just fine, and Jenny felt the same. I was a little worried, though, about where we were going to stay. Lodgings at the Cape weren't exactly cheap, and I didn't want all of my salary to go right back into accommodations. I would need money for textbooks and other college expenses next semester. I had just about given up on the Cape Cod caper and resigned myself to a job inland when a family friend gave me a call. She and her husband had just purchased an old house on the Cape, but wouldn't be able to occupy it for a few months while her husband finished out notice on his position in the Midwest. She heard that I was looking for a place and invited me to stay at her new home for the summer. What a relief. I jumped at the offer, and within a few weeks, Jenny and I were hauling our luggage through the front doors of the residence, an old sea captain's house. It was a lovely place with a large, comfortable living space downstairs and a nice kitchen. Jenny and I would be staying in the 2 upstairs bedrooms, and I had chosen the one at the head of the staircase. Jenny tripped down the hall to the 2nd bedroom, which she declared to be just the ticket. It didn't take us long to settle in, and then we were off to the beach to do some sun worshiping and boy watching. Dinner was just a few sandwiches and chips that first evening, since we didn't take the time to shop before hitting the beach. As we mounted the creaky staircase after our late supper, I felt a chill pass over my skin. I shivered a bit. "Did you feel that draft?" I asked Jenny. She glanced back at me from the top of the stairs. "What draft?" she said. But the chill was gone as sudden as it had come. I shook my head at her. "Just the quirks of an old house," I replied. I slept well that night, worn out from the move and the fresh air of the beach. The next day, Jenny and I started working serving tables at a local restaurant. We spent the day on our feet rushing around, and we didn't feel much like visiting the beach that first night after work. But we adjusted to the job and soon regained our energy and enthusiasm for the beach and other after-work pursuits. About a week after we moved in, I was awakened from my sleep by the same chilly draft that I felt the first night on the staircase. My eyes flew open and my heart started beating faster. Some ancient animal instinct told me to stay very, very still. My bed was opposite the open bedroom door, and I could see straight down the hall and down the staircase. And what I saw froze every muscle in my body. Floating up the staircase was a tall, gray figure in a shroud. It glowed faintly. The folds and the drapes of the shroud were whipping around as if it was being blown by a silent gale. Dark shadows scuttled away under the flapping ends of the phantom's robe as it drifted quietly up one stair and then 2. It stayed near the wall, rising up the staircase as if it mounted each one on heavy, invisible feet. Around my bed, the air grew cold and colder. My whole body started shuddering under the light summer sheets, and I wanted to hide my head under the pillow, but that would be even worse because I wouldn't be able to see where the shrouded phantom had went. As I watched, panting slowly in panic, the glowing ghost reached the top of the staircase. Turning, it drifted past my door and down the hall. My whole body went tense. Jenny's room was down the hall. What if that thing was after Jenny? I wanted to get up and race after it to warn my friend of danger, but I couldn't seem to move. I'd read in books about people who couldn't move after receiving a fright, but I'd always discounted that as a literary nonsense taken by the author. Now I knew it was to be true. My chest felt so tight that it hurt. My heart was throbbing against my ribs and my stomach roiled in terror. The bed was shaking with my nervous trembling, and I knew my legs would not bear the weight even if I tried to stand. I didn't know how long I laid there in silence as the chilly wind slowly faded from the room. I must have fallen asleep eventually from sheer exhaustion, because the next thing I knew it was morning, and beautiful and blessed sunlight was dancing through the windows, wiping out the horror with its warmth. Suddenly I remembered Jenny. I leapt from my bed and ran down the hall. Her room was empty, her bed obviously slept in, and then I heard her rattling around down in the kitchen, humming. Humming a happy tune. I sighed with relief and went to fetch a bathrobe and tumbled down the stairs to tell Jenny my story. My friend was polite, but disbelieving. It was just a nightmare, she said, handing me a carton of milk. Just a dream. I shook my head. I don't have nightmares, I stated flatly. Never have, not even as a little kid. Well, you've just had one now, Jenny said, plopping the cereal box on the table with a bang. I didn't see or hear anything out of the ordinary last night. I'm telling you, I saw a ghost, I repeated. And I'm telling you, there's no such thing, Jenny said, sitting down at the table with her own bowl of cereal. Look, if it'll make you feel any better, I'll trade rooms with you. I nodded vigorously, mouthful of cereal. Yes, that would make me feel much better. I still didn't like staying in the haunted house, but at least I'd be in a room that didn't have a ghost stalking past it in the middle of the night. We traded bedrooms right after breakfast. As I settled into the back room, I felt as if a heavy weight had been removed from my chest. I gave a sigh of release and changed into my uniform in preparation for work. 2 mornings later, Jenny came down for breakfast trembling with dark circles under her eyes. I didn't need to ask what was wrong. I knew at once she had seen the shrouded figure mounting the staircase just as I had. A simple query confirmed it. It was tall and faceless and gray, Jenny gasped, waving her hands to emphasize how tall, how faceless, how gray. The robes flapped in the cold breeze that froze me right to the bone, and it glowed. But it was a dark glow, if you can understand that. And the shadows around it, her voice trailed off and she collapsed into a chair. I am not staying in that room for another night, she told me. Your turn. Now I was the one who turned pale and started shaking. Not me, I said. It's either that or we move out of this house, Jenny said firmly. And you know we can't afford to do that. I had to concede her point. We were earning good salaries, but the money wouldn't go far if we had to rent an apartment for the rest of the summer. If I could even find an apartment at this late date. So we traded rooms again. I didn't see the ghost for the first 2 nights, though you can bet I didn't sleep very well either in the haunted room. On the 3rd night, when the chilly breeze swept through the doorway, I knew what to expect. I debated sleeping with the door shut, but had decided that this would make things even worse. If I had slept with the door shut, I wouldn't be able to see the shrouded phantom coming until it was right in my room. So I watched the glowing gray figure in its shapeless shroud as it rose up the staircase near the wall. Its robes were whipping fiercely in the cold breeze. The second viewing was no easier than the first. My body froze instantly and the bed shook and rattled under my tense body as the ghost reached the top of the stairs. For a moment, its glowing form loomed in front of my door, filling my whole world to the exclusion to all else. Then it moved out of sight down the hall, and in a moment the chilly breeze that had heralded its presence was gone. That was it for me. I didn't sleep a wink for the rest of the night. As soon as my trembling legs had steadied enough to hold me, I got up and started packing my bags. When a rumpled, sleepy-eyed Jen appeared in my doorway the next morning, I told her that we were leaving. I didn't care how expensive it was. I wasn't staying another night. Jenny didn't even argue. At the end, we gave up our jobs in the Cape and went home. It was easier and cheaper, and it didn't take either of us long to find summer vacancies and earn enough money we both needed for the next semester. A few months after my generous friend and her husband moved into the house in the Cape, I got a call at school. After a few preliminary remarks, my friend hesitantly asked me if Jenny and I saw anything strange while we were in the house. I knew at once what she meant and told her about the shrouded figure that climbed the staircase during the night. She gave a gasp of relief when she heard that she and her husband weren't the only ones who had encountered a ghostly figure. Then she told me that her teenage brother had been awakened one night by a chilly presence of something in the room, and that several other strange occurrences had her suspect that they were sharing their home with a ghost. A dig into the old town files uncovered a story of a captain lost at sea and of a waiting wife who never accepted his loss. Some said that the wife still haunted the house and the grounds, forever waiting for her lost husband to come home. Others said that it was the sea captain himself. I didn't know which story to believe. Something was haunting the house on the Cape, but I had no intentions of going back and finding out which specter it was. My friend and her husband eventually not comfortably sharing their home with a ghost. My friend and her husband were eventually not comfortable sharing their home with a ghost because they sold it quickly and moved into an unhaunted house. I sometimes wonder what the new homeowners make of the shroud on the staircase, but I will never go back to ask. I like that one. I have spooky staircases here, and sometimes I get the cold breeze coming up the back of my neck as I walk up and down them. Haunted houses. All right. If you like that story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like, all of those things. If you like them, I'll keep recording more. Until next time, have a good night.